you're measured on that scoreboard, win or loss. In politics, you're measured, then you blame the other side, and you go to donors. But like Phil Knight, for example, in politics, you have donors controlling everything. I mean, let's be real, right? Full disclosure, they're controlling decisions. But like Phil Knight has given millions to the University of Oregon, for example, but he doesn't get to go down and call a goddamn timeout or run a team through a play. So sports should never ever look to politics, ever. I mean, like I said, you have NASCAR, right? You have these multi-million-dollar sponsors. They don't get to go down and be in the pit crew and change a tire and adjust gauges, right? So I think sometimes when you mix the two, it's a toxic combination.
Let me ask you, Wayne Dupree, you said a couple times that your daddy was a pastor. Oftentimes, what we love about sports as consumers, what I think athletes love about sports when they win, are these moments of ecstasy in victory. When your team, you go all in with them, you've been rooting for them for 20 years, they never do well, you get these rare moments to celebrate, to feel like you have invested your something with the jacket, getting the jerseys. I love that player and I'm rooting for him, and as a young man or young woman, you emulate these people, you look up to them, they're your heroes. And it's almost like these feelings that people might associate with religion. You're filled with the Spirit, these good moments that seem otherworldly, that you transcend normal day-to-day dregs of being a human being. What do you make of it when you see athletes in these moments thank God first? I give it to God first. Does God care about sports?
I used to think he did. I used to pray my heart out for the Cowboys and stuff. Oh Lord, yeah. I mean, believe me, I used to pray hard. My father taught me a lot about Black history. Taught me a lot about Harry Tubman and Frederick Douglass and Benjamin Banneker, Booker T. Washington, and all those right there. I never looked toward a sports player in a reverence type of way. Okay. No, I'm not kidding, because I did pray to God for the Dallas Cowboys sometimes, but when it came down to looking at these players to me were people. They weren't gods. And when I see you run into a problem when, let's say these boxers, Tyson Fury and Wilder. Before the fight, God is on my side. God's going to do it. I'm going to win because God said it. Okay, so somebody had to lose. So God didn't want the other person to win? I mean, and when you're in that spiritual...
the Cowboys.
I'm gonna hold that. But when the youth start seeing that, and they start seeing these sports figures do just that, then they start putting these sports figures up on pedestals, and then those sports figures start becoming. And in this day it's dangerous because now whatever these sports figures are saying on social media becomes spiritual law and gospel. And social media is a big part of a whole lot of what we're talking about too. Mm-hmm. But you can probably go and give it a man on that one. But for me, spirituality starts with God, and that's it. I don't look at any other man in that type of way.
If you like God, God rewards hard work. We talked about how you have to work hard in order to be at the top of the heap. And sports rewards hard work, but you can't tell me that Michael Irvin at Miami University in the late 1980s acting godly. Jesse, how much I'm gonna go back to an old Charles Barkley line. Are athletes role models? All right, think about the steroid crisis. Those fools testifying in front of John McCain's committee. There's Rafael Palmeiro. They're talking the juicing, doing these steroids things. And the big message was, we got to get the juicing out of baseball because little kids are looking up to Mark McGwire and saying, I want to be him. do we need to make athletes be appropriate role models for the next generation, given that so many young people idolize them?
Like anything else, that's on parents, man. I mean, that's just on parents. And for one, on the steroids thing, everybody can deny it all they want. Baseball was twice as fun to watch when Mark McGuire's forearms were the size of my leg, jacking about any of that. It was fun, and Barry Bonds' head looked like a watermelon, and he used to hit every shot into the San Francisco Bay. That was better. I mean, baseball was more entertaining to watch. But if your kid idolizes an athlete to the point that something they put on Twitter or Facebook is really influential on them, I mean, no one likes to hear this, especially because I'm a crappy dad and husband anyway. That's on you as a dad. That's on you as a mom. If my kid looks at LeBron James's latest Twitter post and says, man, I idolize that guy. I want to be just like LeBron, that's on me, man.
That's kind of like the statement earlier of, are we as Americans okay with that? Like, the point of, yo, why aren't they checking the scoreboard of the people that actually move the needle on their life? Like, politically. Like, why isn't that, like, us as Americans have allowed that? I can appreciate sports. I am not a fan of any sport. That is a short term for fanatic. I am not fanatical about any of this stuff. It is not politics. Politics is what moves the world's resources. I am more interested in that on a local, state, and federal level, and my children will be more involved in that. And the entertainment, the ice cream, is okay, on Sundays we'll have some sports games.
But should we do acknowledge, and you actually might be really great to acknowledge this too, as far as like musicians and athletes and stuff like that goes, they do influence. I mean, we can say it's on the parents, like I just said, but they do. I would like them to take responsibility for the fact that kids are looking up to them, especially ones without them.
And the internet has no bounds.
Right.
You know, I mean, it's like you are not keeping your kids off of Instagram, you're not keeping them off Facebook, you're not keeping them off of TikTok.
Yeah.
So I mean, the notion of and it was the same thing with the whole Super Bowl, like about the whole controversy with the halftime show. I didn't mind seeing that. I don't think anyone on this panel minded seeing that. But yes, there are children who are watching these things. So you do need to be cognizant of the fact that sports are supposed to be a family affair.
Which one was Super Bowl? Wait, halftime show?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, no, I don't think anybody in this room minded that.
I mean, this is interesting.
So wait. So on one hand, we're saying you guys gotta police yourselves and don't be political. But on the other hand, we say, but you guys are role models. Which one is it? How do we want it both ways?
Right.
That's right. Well,
How do we want it both ways? Are these guys role models that we can groom to say, hey, be politically aware because you're influential? Or is it, hey, we want to keep all of that out of sports? Which one is it?
Brock,
well, I think, just to say one thing on that, I think there's been kind of a perfect storm of two things that have happened recently in society. One is the explosion of social media, that I haven't talked about. The other is the breakdown of the family. The reason why athletes are role models is because 70% of marriages in the United States end in divorce. These kids don't have anyone to look up to right in their own home.
Yes.
I mean, trust me, I've been in the locker rooms. I mean, look, I was friends with Kobe, LeBron, Michael Jordan. I've been around these people. Believe me, there's some messed up private lives in these guys. Okay, they're the most insecure, messed up people. You can, not those guys personally, but I'm saying a lot of professional athletes, you'd be surprised when you pull the curtain back. You know, you ought to look up to your dad who's working 2 jobs to put food on the table, or your mother who's waking up every day at 6 a.m. to fix lunch for her kids and go to 2 jobs and work, and she's sleeping 3 hours a night so she can provide. Like, that's who you ought to look up to. The problem is there's been a breakdown in the family and society, and so the vacuum is professional athletes. That's who kids look up to.
Is this over politicized? I mean, I think of sports as a generational thing. Many of us have talked about our dad, and I think a lot of these, these colors that we wear, the teams that we root for, are often generational. They're hard. You know, when your dad passes away, you put on that Dallas Cowboys, and you think of him and his memories and his good times, and it's reliving things that maybe you're still longing for. We pass those habits down to our own children, and it is generational. So there is a parenting aspect, but are sports supposed to be family friendly?
That's the thing.
It used to be, don't you think?
Exactly.
Everybody wore, I'm sorry, ties, long sleeve shirts, you didn't have tattoos, you didn't have colored hair, you didn't have fancy hair. I mean, it's ridiculous, right?
Well, you know, let's do some. We got a little time. Let's do
Some of the things that my kids here too, like and you've got some older gentlemen there, and the barber says to him when you get up to the chair, says, well, what kind of haircut you want today? And he looks at the barber and says, a regular one. And the older gentleman, they sat there and said, what's wrong, Bill? Did you forget how to do a regular haircut? You see, this is where sports has gone bad, because it's not about being professional, looking professional. We've gotten away from teaching kids how to treat. Never mind.
And you know what, too?
I'll go there.
That's an interesting perspective, yes,
You know, real quick, sports was very fun.
It was.
Back in my day, I don't know, I might be the oldest one up here, but,
You are.
but sports used to be fun. Even if you lost, you still have the next season to look forward to. You were looking at people that was coming to your team. And then, after football was over, it was baseball. And then it was basketball. And then after basketball, it was baseball. Yeah, I mean, it was a flowing thing. It was fast. It was free. It was just something. But now, it's almost like work. I mean, you look at these people,
That's because you're a Cowboys fan.
Well, we have to understand too, and to your point, we have to understand, a lot of this is looking back on the way things used to be, and it is harder to accept that way. I mean, I remember when I was a kid, and I'm not ancient like Wayne, but when I was a kid, on a Friday night, it was Full House and Family Matters. That's what we watched in my house. That's what we watched. And you know, your commercials were Kellogg's cereal, and it was Michael Jordan and Gatorade, and it was, you could just park your kids in front of the TV for an hour while the parents went and talked, and then that was
what did you watch again? Family Matters.
Family Matters.
Incredible Hulk, Dallas.
A little bit of that. But in this day and age, I mean, to her point about the halftime show, well, personally, as a red-blooded American male, I enjoyed it. The days are gone where you can, as a parent, if you want your kids raised with certain values, throw them in front of the TV for an hour, because you're going to see Shakira up there in a thong, and then they're going to go to commercial, and they're going to find out all kinds of previews about the upcoming show where everybody's banging everybody else, and then the next commercial is going to be about a guy whose penis doesn't work anymore, and then by the time they're all done with it, your kids have grown up 20 years, and then that's for that commercial break. And you can dislike that, and I dislike that with two boys sometimes, but that's the world we live in now, and it ain't changing.
I think that's also, real quick, I think that's also because on one hand, we tried, so take the NBA. Basketball was fun when it was a hand check rule and people were playing and it was aggressive and so forth and so on. We've like marshmallow-wise sports so much to try to make it like corporatized and acceptable that now it's not fun. So now even the harsh, different type of character, right? Dennis Rodman was a weirdo 20 years ago, right? But even him being a weirdo, he had a work ethic. I may not score, but I'm gonna do everything to get this rebound. I'm gonna work hard, right? We had that personality. We had that strong personality. We had different types. Michael Jordan, I'm going to commit to this. The problem is when you corporatize it, now you make it sanitized. Now there's no disagreeing of opinion. Now there's no different view. Charles Barkley's question of statement of I'm not a role model creates the question for us to even have here. Now they won't even make that type of statement. So now it creates, again, it's us. That art, that entertainment that we're watching is a reflection of our life. We are becoming more, there's a direct attempt to make Americans soft. That's what's happening.
That weirdo Dennis Rodman is now like our top U.S. diplomat to North Korea. So it seems to have worked out all right for him. Yes, sir. The front row, did you have one?
Yeah, I wanted to ask
Tiana.
Tiana, Bueller. Yes, sir, in the middle there? Yes, sir.
Two quick questions. One, Kaepernick, the thing that concerns me is that high school kids are starting to emulate that. And I thought, I don't know how many of those kids even know what they're doing. And then I saw a clip of an 8-year-old teen, and they were all on their knees. And I thought, where's that coming from? Right? So how do you guys feel about the impact on younger kids? And the second point is, on Tuesday when I arrived in town, I went to the African American Smithsonian Museum. I had been there. And I walked through it, and I was, in 1968 Olympics, when Tommy Smith and John Carlos protested. I was 16 at the time, so do the math, how old I am. And anyway, it really offended me at that time. I thought, man, that's just so inappropriate those guys did that. I walked into the museum, they have a life-size replica of the guys on the medal stand, and they were doing their deal. And it took me up short, and I looked at that, and it took me back to '68, and I thought, you know, they actually had a valid point they were making. And I'm not sure how I feel about what they did at that setting, but it was interesting in the process of, whatever, 50 years or whatever that was, how my perspective would change. But how do you guys feel about protesting at the Olympics too? Clarence Thomas is in the museum, he should be.
So two things to the protest at the Olympics. The other thing that is usually gets left out of that conversation is those two brothers took their shoes off. They were barefoot in those pictures. That's why most times you don't ever see their feet. They took those sneakers off because the protest wasn't about let me get a sneaker deal. It was about we are talking about like legit injustice. During that time, black people in America were like getting like dogs sicked on them and shot with hoses, like real stuff. Stuff that like none of us will ever have to deal with again, or haven't for the most part, right? So that's the other thing. They weren't trying to brand Adidas, because Adidas is actually the largest thing in the world.
They had their shoes off.
They had their shoes off. That was that thing. Now, to the other part to me, in regards to the young people, bro, y'all ate. Somebody told y'all that. Like somebody said, hey, this is the cute thing to do now. Like you what is your injustice? I had to go take a nap. You know? So at that point, that's where I completely just, when it becomes the trend and there's no substance with it, it's no different than, again, to me, if we are not realizing and living up to those ideals of what the flag is supposed to stand for, like how can we say we're, these great Americans if we're not doing this thing? And I'm not even talking about African Americans getting murdered by corrupt portions of law enforcement. White dudes, y'all are killed more by law enforcement than us. Y'all should be just as mad, if not even madder.
Well, no, man. No, and also, this is actually a good question for you two on this. This is part of the problem I see with people when they hear the word racism now, or that's racist. Yeah. Especially white people like me, I instinctively roll my eyes now because every daggone thing is. And when you think about, people getting dogs sicked on them, people trying not to get lynched. I heard the great Jim Brown say one time, young people today don't have any idea what racism actually is because that's a man who actually lived through it. The problem is everybody wants to be that. We've talked about LeBron James tonight. A lot of people don't remember it because the news media conveniently buried this. LeBron James had his own race hoax where he moved into some fancy $20, $30 million mansion and said someone spray painted something racist on there. By the time the cops got there, his buddies had already painted over. Yeah. LeBron James, that should have buried his career, but he gets to this point where he is, what's more admirable than what that guy's accomplished than throughout his life from where he came from? And instead of standing up and saying, man, be like me, do what I did, he gets all that and all that wealth and fame, and instead, he wants to be a victim like everybody else. And that's really grinding people's gears a lot. I know it grinds mine a lot too. Man, you should be the lion of the black community. Instead, you want to be a victim like everybody else, and that sucks.
Well, a whole lot of people think that they're Martin Luther King too. Yeah. A whole lot of people look at these new, updated movies and want to be that voice that was back then. You alluded to protesting and boycotting. People don't. The reason why it was so effective when Martin Luther King did it is because everybody was on board, and it hurt. It hurt the whole city. Today, when people just bring it up, okay, I won't go to McDonald's. I didn't get the car.
Like 4 hours later.
You know what? It's the strength of making that commitment to do it. It ain't gonna be done. So, there's this football said, yeah, we're gonna boycott, we're not gonna watch any more football games and we ain't gonna go to the stadiums. Well, some of them are going to the stadium and stuff. Don't y'all think that if everybody had stopped going to the stadium, that the owners would have said, you know what? This can't happen.
It's just basically
This can't happen. Right.
So the component of there are things that actually are racist, like gun control, like that historically, that is like an actual thing. They can like repackage it and rebrand it.
Major League Baseball. was racist.
Right.
For most of the
For a
statistics.
long time. You know, and so, again, that's why to me, I think that's why I'm somewhat a little empathetic for like a Kaepernick situation to even, because otherwise the conversation is never even had, right?
Jackie Robinson though.
Jackie Robinson.
Jackie Robinson played.
Right.
Didn't boycott, didn't protest, he played.
Yeah.
And that was his
His voice, his character,
Exactly.
a reflection of himself, and still caught a lot of flack in the civil rights era because activists in that era
You were scared.
didn't think that he was sufficiently militant
Right.
enough. There was one question for Tiana, and then we got to get out of here, guys.
Hi, thank you all for all your insights, and I have a
You're
very very
welcome.
genuine question because this is a conservative conference, and I appreciate this panel very much because I came from a sports background myself, and I used to work with the Lakers when they came to Hawaii for training camp. But this question is directed to Tiana with the Washington Examiner, because not only is she the only woman on this panel, and I want to address that. I like the fact that what Maj said about you can't have it both ways. But there was an article that was written by one American news network, Liz Wheeler, and she stated, you know, regarding the Super Bowl halftime commercial and how far we came today, is that the Super Bowl has been a hotbed of human sex trafficking. That's the downfall of the sensationalized sexualizing the pole dancing and the hip swinging and all
Are you
that.
talking about the Super Bowl itself, that all of these people come to town and it's actually...
Well, I'm just saying, you know, degrading women when children are watching is a travesty for the general cultural makeup of children that are, you know, also watching with adults. And so that's the downfall that I'm really concerned about genuinely. And I like the fact that I like to find out why. Can we have it both ways? Or are we directing to just adult audience while children are watching this in regards to degrading women and sex trafficking, human trafficking?
So, to the immediate question, obviously there needs to be a calculated choice. We understand that lots of primetime shows on HBO, they are not meant for children, they're meant for teenagers and adults. Sports historically have not been that way. Sports are supposed to have been, you know, a family affair. But let's sort of siphon off the issue between the halftime show and the sex trafficking issue. So the sex trafficking issue, the statistics are very unclear. It's possible that it's overhyped. So the numbers of people, the outsized media attention on sex trafficking related to the Super Bowl is exactly that, outsized. It is not disproportionate to the normal sex trafficking in the country, which is a travesty, but it garners further attention as a result of it being attached to the Super Bowl. Then the whole halftime show issue is a separate issue, and it's one that does require a lot of thought, because it matters what we want the intended audience to be. And I just think that we haven't really had that conversation, because if it's political, that means you're siphoning off half the country by politics. If it's by age, that means you're choosing to lock children out of a tradition that kids have usually been a part of. I mean, some of my earliest memories were going to football games with my dad. So, mind you, I was a Trojan, USC fight on. It was not NFL. But, no, those are just two separate issues. And they're ones that I don't think that anyone's actually thought, how do we decide the gradation of who gets invited to participate in these level of cultural activities?
Two separate issues. Can we have it both ways though, to address his point? Yeah.
No, I mean, I know, absolutely not.
I don't think so.
An adult activity is an adult activity.
Now the problem is, in that scenario, you have a corporation that is trying to get it both ways, which in turn may add to the sex trafficking issue because you're trying to have it both ways.
Brock Gillespie, you get the last word.
I just want to say this because you guys pay good money to be here and you all travel from all over the country and the world and everything. Look, if I could just give you some perspective on this. GOP, Republicans, all of you, my colleagues, my friends, embrace sports, okay? Embrace the sports icons, okay? Because I can tell you the left, the Democrats, they are paying money for that support.
Yeah.
And we can't run away from it, okay? I mean, I just want to give you an example. Michael Jordan, for example, if he ran for president, would probably win 50 goddamn states. I mean, think about that. And I'm a huge Trump supporter. You look at kind of the model of that, right? When you look at Michael Jordan, greatest athlete ever. He's a winner. He came from nothing. He's self-made. He's a family man. He's a business guy. Air Jordan, Nike. He's known all over the world. White people love him. Black people love him. People of all races, all creeds, all backgrounds. Women, young people. So if we get behind these people, and believe me, there is a ton of closet conservatives in sports. I've been in the locker rooms, I can tell you that. So just embrace them, okay? Work with them. Be their friends, support them, because the other side is paying money for that support. That's all I'll say on that.
And just like Jesse Kelly, Michael Jordan loves watching sports because he loves to gamble. Please, a nice round of applause for William Dupree, Toure, Gillespie, Tiana, Lowe, and Jesse Kelly.